Ditto Hardcore Nuzlocke are by far one of the most difficult Nuzlocke variants I've ever played. Pokémon Black had me constantly drawing up plans throughout the league, sometimes mid-battle, to make up for some of the worst luck I've ever had in a run. Pokémon Shield had me defending myself against Dynamax Pokémon. All of my squishy little blobs had to sit there hopelessly being bombarded by max moves, only being able to use the terrible enemy movesets at that. But despite the horrendous luck, despite losing my entire stock of Ditto right before the champion, we managed to eke out victory using nothing but our wits and sheer determination. And something else that might have been important. You already know the rules of a hardcore Nuzlocke, but to summarize, if a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead and is no longer usable. I can't use items in battle, but held items are fine. I can't level past the next gym leader. I play on set mode. And for this challenge, we'll only be allowed to use Ditto, but they'll all have the imposter ability. Do you know what Pokemon Black and Pokemon Shield have in common that Pokemon Shining Pearl does not? These are the only two games in the franchise where you can get the Choice Scarf before the post-game. But why am I mentioning this in the intro? Surely just one item can make that much of a difference. You poor naive fool. This one item is the sole reason why I could even consider victory in the first place. I might be overreacting, but if this is your first time watching my videos, allow me to give you a short introductory course on Ditto. When Ditto transforms, it also copies its target stats. Not just the base stats, but literally the exact stats that Pokemon has at the time, along with any stat changes. Which means we will almost always have the same speed as our opponent, with the only factor deciding who moves first being a coin flip. The Choice Scarf, however, lets us bypass this, as the Pokemon holding it gets a 50% speed boost right from the start. The trade-off being that you can only use the first move you choose. This is very important, as there is actually one stat Ditto does keep. It's HP. And it's bad. Which means we will likely always be at a disadvantage. The Choice Scarf would have allowed us to get an extra hit during a one-on-one, but without it, we'll need to win speed ties at crucial moments. And historically, my relationship with luck has not been on the best terms. But I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have something that resembled a plan, so I've stalled long enough. Let's get this started. First up, we need to pick our starter. I usually pick the one that would make my run more difficult, but in the challenge where we can't use the starter, the decision lies in what our rival gets. Turtwig is weak to almost all of our rivals' other Pokemon, so we choose Piplup. Admittedly, this decision isn't that important in this challenge, or at least in this game. On Route 1, I catch a massive stockpile of Ditto, all with varying IVs, and before even leaving Jubilife, we can get a full team. On the way out, we also grab a Quick Claw. It's no Choice Scarf, but at the very least, we can increase our chances of moving first from 50% to 60%. I'm really grasping at straws here. Speaking of Choice Scarves, one challenges me to a battle. First up is Starly, but at this stage of the game, we actually have more HP than most of the Pokemon that we face. My own Starly is able to out-quick attack Scarfs, and we're onto Turtwig. Don't expect this advantage to last long. Turtwig seems to have heard me roasting him while choosing my starter, so it withdraws into its shell to drown out the noise that is society. I get the feeling, buddy. But eventually, he has the courage to come out of his room using a tackle. But then we just switch out, copying all of his hard work while being at full HP. Turtwig withdraws back into its shell. I get the feeling, buddy. We're ready to face the first gym, but Rourke has a Cranidos that has an attack stat of 125. In the first gym. It also has Bulldoze, which is super effective against all the Pokemon that we can use. So we're already off to an interesting start. Rourke leads with Geodude and I send out Starly. What moves have you got in store? The possibilities are endless. We start the battle trading Stealth Rocks, after which Rourke goes straight for the offensive using Rollout. This is going to be a long run. Rourke's hubris has gotten the better of him, however, as I use a Defense Curl, knowing that this will give my Rollout a damage boost, while also raising my defense. Rourke lands another Rollout, and we use our first one, and look at that damage output. Another one, and we've already surpassed Rourke. But the next turn, Starly misses Rollout. Then Geodude misses Rollout. That's a 1% chance. Rourke's now been enlightened, so he copies my strat of using Defense Curl, as I do the same. Rourke, using more doesn't make a difference. But this does give me a head start in our Rollout off. And then we proceed to win the next few speed ties as Rollout finally takes Geodude down. Next up is Onix. What a waste of a cool Pokemon design. And Starly's Rollout brings Onix from full into red. A potion is a pathetic attempt to stall as the Rollout train doesn't have brakes, finishing Onix off with the final hit. Finally is Cranidos. Cranidos has Bulldoze, coming for 125 base attack. Switching isn't an option. I stay in, and Cranados uses Headbutt, and look how much damage an unboosted rollout does. Can we survive one more turn? We can if Cranados doesn't even attack. A final rollout brings Cranados down, winning us our first badge. I was expecting this battle to get rough, especially during Cranados, but once Starly set up 2 defense curls, I don't even think Borders would have killed. But let's not assume we're in the clear. There's still a whole game ahead of us. This was just a teaser. Onwards to Floroma Town, we have this egregious double battle against 2 Pachirisu, whose only attacking move is Quick Attack, while having 2 attack lowering moves. This takes far longer than it needs to. Although here's a small quirk with double battles. Ditto transforms into the Pokemon opposite it. However, if it doesn't have a target in front of it, Imposter doesn't activate. It doesn't really come up that often, but later in the game this could be something of concern, as enemy Pokemon could have a free move against my precious Ditto, who don't exactly have the best bulk. In Floroma Town, we could harvest some Oran Berries, and since we could plant these and patiently wait for some brand new healthy Oran Berries with no risk to our team, we now have unlimited Oran Berries, which is a really big deal, as at this stage of the game, this could mean our Ditto could be able to take an extra hit. If you watched my previous videos, you'd know one of the worst parts of these challenges are the segments where you had to fight the game's evil teams and the terrible Pokemon, because we're forced to use them. Let's see if Team Galactic changes my perspective. Well, Glameow isn't the best Pokemon, but at least with Stab Fake Outs, we can get through it pretty quickly. Into the Floroma Meadow, and yeah, this was more in line with what I was expecting. Okay, Wurmple's attacks don't do too much, but ours do. We probably have an advantage when it comes to HP. A few more tackles, and Wurmple's down. That was pretty painless. Oh no. Alright, we need to get poison off on this thing as soon as possible. And of course it has Shed Skin. Another quirk about Ditto, they only get 5 power points per move when they transform. I've run out of all of my attacking moves. I really don't want to switch, so I drained my String Shot PP. I don't think that's a sentence I can say on YouTube, and let's see how much Struggle does. Oh. Well, there's absolutely no way we can take Silcoon down before fainting, so we're forced to switch. And why was I so against switching? Because the only move Silcoon has is Harden. And this means all we can do is use Harden. Well, at the very least, we managed to do quite a bit of damage as the Wurmple, so we can just struggle until Silcoon finally goes down. That could have been a lot worse. Next up is Zubat, and its moveset is actually disgusting. But there's something far more concerning, and that's Mean Look. This will trap our Ditto, and remember, we only have 5 PP for each move. And the moves are bad. So what that means is that Zubat's maniacal plan is to slowly torture my Pokemon until they give in to struggle. We actually managed to take Zubat down pretty quickly with Astonish and some Confusion luck, but this was a good opportunity to explain why Mean Look is really bad for us. And unfortunately it's a pretty common move among the Galactic Grunts, even in the late game. Alright, let's actually get into the value when works. I really don't want to fight another Grunt, but I do love my stealth games. Why aren't you turning around? Any moment now? Fine, I give in. Cool, only 1 Pokemon. No. God damn it, Cascoon. We have to PP stall this thing, and Harden has 30 power points. It doesn't sound that bad, and there really isn't any risk of us losing Pokemon. But I'm playing on a Switch, and even on my Switch 2.0, speed up is not a thing that exists. Which means I have to sit through this entire battle. At least this gives me some time to catch up on the anime. I do actually try to struggle my way into a faster battle, but Cascoon doesn't even give me the satisfaction of defeating him honorably. Look how close we were. What a cruel Pokemon. Oh yeah, the boss battle. Mars leads with Zubat and I sent out Starly. And the moveset is still pretty disgusting. At least no Mean Look this time. Unfortunately, we don't really have the advantage when it comes to HP this time, as her levels are higher than Grunt's. But Starly manages to get a couple of lucky crits, while not letting Confusion hold it down. But Yu comes in to finish Zubat off. Purugly has Stab Fake Out, and that's like an automatic win button for us. Zubat has Inner Focus, so as Purugly uses Fake Out, we can just U-turn to switch out. And from here, we can basically use Fake Out, switch, then Fake Out again, all while guaranteeing that we move first. Eventually, Bidoof takes Purugly down with the final scratch. How was that Cascoon the hardest battle? Sure, there was no risk of losing any Ditto, but the damage that Cascoon inflicted to my mental health is far scarier. I'm gonna have trust issues whenever I see a forced Grunt battle. Well, we can at least make it through the forest pretty painlessly as the Pokemon we transform into aren't terrible. God, that was so satisfying. And Cheryl also does occasionally attack. But we're on to the next gym now, and while typically grass gyms are one of the easiest to deal with, we have to use their awful Pokemon. And all the trainers here are forced battles. My strategy to take down the first trainer with Cherubi was to set up growths while the sun was up, so we can max out our attack fairly quickly. But out comes Roselia, who quadruply resists grass, our only attacking move. But at least it's part poison, so we can hit it for neutral damage once we switch out. Oh no. No. At the very least, unlike Cascoon, we do actually have moves that can hurt Roselia, and eventually it does run out of Mega Drains, meaning it can't restore any health back, so we can whittle away at it until it finally goes down to a Mega Drain. This took almost 8 minutes, and Cherubi wasn't exactly a fast battle either. Alright, at least the trainers should get progressively more difficult as we go on, and that'll hopefully mean that we'll fight stronger Pokemon with better movesets. Alright, we're playing a Pokemon game. What? We're playing a Pokemon game, but surely they couldn't have made a Pokemon this bad, right? No. No. Alright, for those of you who are confused as to why I'm having a mental breakdown, let's take a second to break down our situation and what we learned from that turn. This Eldritch Abomination has 4 moves: Absorb, Stun Spore, Rest, and Sleep Talk. Out of these 4 moves, only one deals damage: Absorb. And Absorb has a base power of 20. 20! Absorb is also a grass move. Our opponent Baju, who is a grass poison type, quadruply resists grass. As we saw, Baju using Absorb only did 1 HP of damage, and it restored all the damage we did to it, which means that we only do 1 HP of damage. So unlike Roselia before her, just using Absorb and switching out to recover PP is not a viable strategy. So how about Struggle? Well, unlike Cascoon, to be able to use Struggle, we have to drain the power points of 4 moves, which is 20 turns. And even once we do that, we only get 3 chances to use it before we need to switch. And even assuming we do this enough times to bring Badu low, it has a Rest, which will not only recover its HP, but will also give it 2 turns to use Sleep Talk, which allows it to roll a random move while asleep without any extra power point cost. So Struggle is not an option. So what does that leave us with? Why am I even trying to build up suspense? We're PP stalling it, okay? But now let me explain why this is insane in of itself. I've already listed the moves that Badu has, but now let's list how many power points each move has, in no particular order. Rest has 10, Sleep Talk has 10, Absorb has 25, and Stun Spore has 30. That is 75 turns we need to stall for, with no speed up, while battle animations are on. And I was even stupid enough to attack it, which gave Badu a chance to use Rest, basically wasting 2 turns, not even costing it any power points unless we're lucky enough for it to use Sleep Talk, which takes a lot of battle animation time, which costs me sanity power points. I have never so instantly regretted doing a run, but eventually, after enough persistence, I finally realized that Badu ran out of rests, allowing my Ditto to struggle safely. And Bidoof gets a much needed crit on its last struggle, finally finishing Badu off. What an awful battle. I knew trainer Pokemon were bad, but I wasn't what the f***. Yup, we're doing this all over again. But at least this time I have a better idea on how the AI works. I'm smarter now, knowing not to attack Badu at all, instead of letting it use all the absorbers at once, while my Ditto rests at regular intervals. Eventually, I also learned that once Badu runs out of attacking moves, rather than using random moves, it's incentivized to use healing moves, evident as it uses up all of its rests, and that eventually allows us to whittle Badu down with absorbs, slowly but surely. Definitely better than stalling it for 75 turns, but still, it's pretty soul draining. At least it's over. Hey, while I've got you for a moment, if you're enjoying this video as much as I'm enjoying this battle, how about a little like and a subscribe? I just like the feeling of validation if I'm being honest. And look at these numbers, and if you don't enjoy my videos, why not subscribe anyway? You know, so you can get a notification when to come back to dislike my video and leave a mean comment. I promise that doesn't help me whatsoever. Promise. That was probably the worst place to drop this, and that is finally the end of this battle. No, really. This one took me about 37 minutes. I literally have an entire page in my script talking about this one battle. Did you know there is a secret in the Eternity Gym where if you defeat all the trainers in a particular order, there is a hidden boss battle that rewards you with a gym badge, which you can use to progress the story. Cherubi has Dazzling Gleam. Let's go. This game actually shows some mercy. No need for fancy tactics. I'm just gonna savor being able to use a move that's neutral and does decent amounts of damage. Starly has an Oran Berry and I think more HP, so we're able to win the one-on-one. With Turtwig out, I still have 2 Dazzling Gleams to spare. Using one to do some pretty good damage as Turtwig sets up Reflect. I used one more and it was at this stage when I realized that I should have switched to restore my power points. Razor Leaf doesn't do much. I use a Hopeful Grass Knot, but it's obvious we need to switch. Razor Leaf this time also crits. I switch into Bidoof as Gardenia heals Turtwig right back up to full. Setting up my own Reflect, Turtwig uses a workup. I then proceed to spam my own workups until Reflect goes down, where Turtwig gets a window to hit Razor Leaf. Gardenia's Reflect goes down, allowing me to get revenge the next turn. I'm in range of a Razor Leaf crit, so I switch out to Shinx, losing my boosts, but copying Turtwig's, as Gardenia once again heals. My progress. But now I have a chance to max out my attack, as Turtwig has the same thought. Gardenia's Reflect goes down, so I try to attack, but Turtwig outspeeds to set it back up. And then I miss anyway. Shinx and Turtwig have a Grass Knot match until my Reflect wears off. I tried to set it back up, but Turtwig outspeeds using Razor Leaf. And I wasn't aware I was in kill range. Goodbye, Shinx. I can bring out the still healthy Baju to finish Turtwig off with a Grass Knot. Finally it's Roserade, and while it is the evolved form of the demons that we had to face off against earlier, it at least has Poison Sting. Yes, I'm happy about a Pokemon having Poison Sting. We still have plenty of healthy Pokemon, and Gardenia is all out of potions, so while Poison Sting doesn't do much, we are able to eventually whittle it down until I realized that Petal Blizzard would have done more all this time. And my starter can use the final Petal Blizzard, winning us the second badge, putting this long segment behind us. How far into the video are we? I think this is the longest it's taken me to get the second badge in a video. For reference, we would have been on the 7th gym in my black run by now. But I'm trying to give you the full experience of using a Ditto only team without having to go through any of this yourself. And to just outline the important battles without talking about a normal battle here and there, especially those that are forced, would feel deceptive. After all, if you aren't having an existential crisis, then you aren't truly experiencing a Ditto only hardcore Nuzlocke. Also I want those watch hours. Well, speaking of long segments, it's going to be a while before we can even challenge the 3rd gym. I'm not even bothering with the grunts this time. On to Jupiter. Jupiter's Zubat's attacking moves are weak against itself, and it also has Mean Look. Not a good combination. But that's not even the worst of it. Zubat hits Starly with Supersonic. Starly hits itself once, then twice. Then it gets to move, missing Supersonic. Then it hits itself for a 3rd time. Poison Fang finishes Starly off. You deserve this, Starly. Have they increased the confuse odds in this game? I showed you Starly's final moments, but it hit itself a lot this battle. Bidoof, never being one to miss, manages to hit all of his Poison Fangs, finishing Zubat off. Out comes the Run-Ender Skuntank, and this is probably the first Pokemon in this game that is genuinely threatening to us. Remember how the only stat Ditto keeps is his HP? Skuntank has almost double our base HP, so we'll always have a lower damage output. Into Baju, who gets hit with the Flamethrower, and Skuntank has already revealed my grand plan. We just keep using Flamethrowers, while Skuntank does the same. But we have the power of friendship on our side, so we can just keep switching to recover our health, while Skuntank has to stick it out with the damage it's taken. Eventually, my Zubat just misses the kill with Flamethrower. I was absolutely in crit range, and burn Slowcook Skuntank. Before leaving, we grab an Explorer kit, which will be relevant later, and a bicycle. Of course, they found a way to sneak Charizard in. I'm paranoid about battling even a single random trainer, so for the first time, I skillfully dodge every trainer on Cycling Road. On the way to Hearthome, my paranoia gets validated as I get caught by a random who starts with a Mr. Mime that only has confusion. Not a good start, but it does enough for me not to lose my mind. But then out comes Bonsly. Shouldn't be an issue, right? Rock is neutral after all, the only attacking move it has is Flail. A normal move with an abysmal base power unless you're literally in the red. This battle took 10 minutes. The time investment probably doesn't sound too bad, but the thing is, there's no stimulation, so you're just tapping the same button for 10 minutes, needing to pay just enough attention to know when to switch out, or if you're in crit range, meaning you're left with nothing but your own thoughts for 10 minutes, which is a punishment I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. Speaking of which, we have another battle with Choice Scarf. Scarf leads with Starly. We trade plucks, but we do noticeably more, meaning we likely have much more HP. A quick attack finishes Starly off. Weasel's next, and I stay in to use a pluck. Weasel outspeeds hit bite, flinching Bidoof. Baju goes for a couple of bites as Weasel doubles up on tail whips, so switch out to Zubat. On another tail whip. We don't win the speed tie, but Weasel just goes for another tail whip, so we can finish it off with bite. Next up is Grottle, who reads my switch, setting up Stealth Rocks. I do the same as Grottle hits me with Razor Leaf, but we get a sneak peek at a move that guarantees our win. Curse. So the thing with moves like Curse that raise both attack and defense is that after using it once, the AI will be baited into using it themselves to one-up us. We can just continue using that move while the AI does the same, always being one step ahead of them. And once we run out, we can just switch and copy their boosts. Unfortunately, the issue with this battle is that Razor Leaf is a high crit chance move, and a single crit from either side is an insta-kill. Guess who's the first one that rolls a crit? Thankfully, Zubat's able to come out and get a crit not too soon after, and while Ponyta does have the type advantage, we're maxed out in our defenses. I might seem to be playing into crits this run, but the thing is, we have a massive stockpile of Ditto, so losing one every now and then won't be an issue, though that's what I said in my shield run. On the way to Veilstone, I have no clue if this is an optional or not, but he would not budge. I was standing in place for a full 5 minutes and he would not turn. I decided to give in, figuring I could just spend 5 minutes battling this dude and be done with it. But since I'm taking the time to narrate this part, you obviously know that it's not going to be that simple. This man starts off with the Bronzor, which is bad enough as both of its stabs are resisted by itself. At least it has payback, so we have a move to hit it. Confusion makes this take longer than it needs to, but it does eventually go down with no issues. And then out comes Shieldon, a steel rock type with high defenses. It's also slow, so unfortunately Bronzor's Gyro Ball doesn't do much. But the real horror show starts when I switch out. The only attacking move it has is Takedown, a normal move, 4 times resisted, and Shieldon's already got off quite a few iron defenses, so we literally do 1 HP a turn. Another 10-minute battle, this time against Shieldon alone. But we're now in Veilstone and we can finally challenge another gym. I probably cut out most of this, but the time between the second and third gym is actually quite a bit. I never really quite noticed the weird pacing in Diamond and Pearl. Platinum really makes this feel more seamless. While we could just go straight to the gym, let's take a little detour first. As by being in Veilstone, we've opened up quite a few doors to making our lives a lot easier. First, if we go just past Veilstone to Route 214, we can pick up a citrus berry. And like the orange berries before, we now have unlimited citrus berries. This is a big deal as we're starting to outgrow orange berries, and citrus berries essentially grant us an extra 25% HP, regardless of how high our stats are, which means it could account for an extra hit, maybe even 2. And this leads me to the next point. Remember how I said the Explorer Kit would be relevant later? Well, its time has come. With access to the underground, we can mine for treasures including gems, which we can use to buy items. And then we can head back to the real world and sell them for money, completely risk-free to our Pokemon. And if you haven't been keeping up with my rules, if we can do something without risking any of our Pokemon in a reasonable time frame, then we can just give ourselves whatever the spoils would have been, like we've been doing with berries. We aren't really risking anything here, even if we did this legitimately, so we wouldn't lose any Pokemon. I can see people not agreeing with this, but my motto when playing Nuzlocke is that I'd rather play the parts that are fun. So why am I rambling on about this? Well, from here on out, we have unlimited money. But why is this important to us? We can't use items in battle, and Ditto can't learn any TMs. Well, in Veilstone, we have access to the shopping mall, and inside the shopping mall, we can buy stat boosting items. And Gen 8 added a quality of life change where you can now use stat boosting items to max out your Pokemon's EVs. As we know, Ditto doesn't copy the opponent's HP, so we can buy unlimited HP ups and max out our Ditto's HP EVs. I typically don't like to do this, especially since I use rare candies and not having EVs is a good trade-off, but for this particular challenge, I think it's fair game. Sorry, I do like over-explaining my thought processes. But like I said, I'm trying to give you the authentic Ditto experience. But that's enough talk, let's just get on to the third gym. We haven't even done the third gym yet. While the level cap is 30, I should keep all of my Ditto at level 29. Maylene leads with Meditite, and I send out Bidoof. And look what move Meditite has. Bidoof gets off a bulk up as Maylene uses a Drain Punch. And looks like it took the bait. Wait, what? Alright, maybe I didn't know the AI as well as I thought I did. Let's just stick to the plan. We managed to set up all the bulk ups we can without Maylene going for the one move I fear. Flash. And yet, despite all of that, Bidoof fails to pick up the kill as Meditite finally goes for a bulk up. After a Hyper Potion, our Drain Punch reveals to do a lot less damage, but we win the next speed tie, being able to finish Meditite off. Next up is Machoke, and we outspeed to one shot with Drain Punch, as it doesn't resist fighting. The Ace Lucario's out, and manages to outspeed using Metal Claw, also getting an attack boost. But there was never really anything it could have done to stop a +5, pure power boosted, super effective Drain Punch. And we win the third badge using only one Pokemon. Words cannot explain the euphoria I had finally getting an easy battle. But how long will that streak continue? Well, the reason I didn't level up any of my Pokemon all the way up to the level cap is because the next gym also shares the same level cap for some reason. I can understand them doing this in the originals, but surely they could have changed this for the remakes. We can actually skip all the trainers on the way to Pastoria, which is something I have never given the appreciation it deserves. There are force battles in the gym, however, but surely they can't be that Samson sends out Shellos. Shellos has 4 moves: Mud Slap, Recover, Water Pulse, and Rain Dance. This Shellos also happens to have Storm Drain, which invalidates water moves. And Mud Slap does a pathetic amount, which Shellos can just recover back anyway. Mud Slap also lowers the opponent's accuracy, which we of course copy on the Switch. So what's the plan? Well, like Baju, once Shellos runs out of recovers, it's free game to start attacking. But here's the thing, unlike Baju, Shellos is incentivized to use all of its attacks before even bothering with recover. The AI love setting up weather if they have a weather setting move. And unlike Stun Spore, which is a status move, the AI is perfectly fine using Water Pulse once they run out of Mud Slaps, even though it doesn't affect us, since it's an attacking move. Meaning before it even thinks about using Recover, it will need to use up all of its other moves first, which means we are essentially PP stalling it. I did try attacking every now and then to see if I could bait Recover, which I did actually manage to do occasionally, but this ended up working against me as now whenever I switch out, I'll have negative accuracy, which is never fun to deal with, and will just prolong the battle further. The saving grace is that opposed to the Baju that had 75 PP to spare, Shellos only has 45. But we need to drain all 45 of its power points this time. After a certain point, I realized that I could max out Shellos' special attack once it runs out of Mud Slaps by using Water Pulse, as Storm Drain not only invalidates water moves, it also raises special attack, which I could then copy myself. With all these things in mind, we can eventually take Shellos down with the final Mud Slap. Is what I would have said, but then it doesn't even give me the satisfaction of defeating it honorably. Look how close we were. Oh right, he has other Pokemon. Wingle's out, but we have a +6 special attack, so I take a moment to recover as Wingle uses U-turn. Wait, there was another Pokemon? This Shellos even has Harden. That's 30 extra power points. We PP stall Shellos. Wingle goes down to a +6 Water Pulse. That battle took me 25 minutes. Did you know, there is a secret in the Pastoria City gym where if you defeat all of the Wake leads with Gyarados and I send out Bidoof. Gyarados, the absolute fool, intimidates Bidoof, but Bidoof transforms, removing its stat drops. And Gyarados, being the mere mortal he is, cowers faced by the deity before him. We trade crunches, Gyarados never being quite able to catch up. Even a heal doesn't make a difference as Bidoof lowers his defense, taking it down the next turn. Even Quagsire, a Pokemon to match Bidoof's prowess, isn't able to stand up to it as it goes down to a crunch and 2 Ice Fangs. Unfortunately, we've used up all the moves we had for Floatzel, so after Floatzel uses a paltry Ice Fang, Bidoof uses a Flail that does over half, but activates Citrus Berry. Into Badu, and a bite into Brine wins us the 4th badge. Ironically, the gym leaders haven't really been an issue so far. It's mostly random trainers that we struggled against, but the next gym could make or break this challenge. Ghost Pokemon are terrifying in the Ditto only run. Ghost moves can hit Ghost Pokemon for super effective damage. And at this point in the series, all Ghost Pokemon will likely have a Ghost move and will probably have more HP than us. So whenever we switch, we're almost always at risk of a one-hit KO. and if not that, then a 2-hit KO. Which means not only do we have to rely on winning speed ties, but even if we do, that doesn't guarantee the kill. This is one of those situations why we really need a choice scarf, as that would help us play around these issues. Now we're forced to rely on luck, but that doesn't mean there aren't things that we can do to influence it. Like I mentioned right near the beginning, we have a quick claw, and that increases our chances of moving first. It hasn't really come up since, because most battles have been a stall fest, but now it could be a lifesaver. And even though the choice scarf isn't available to us, there is still an item, while not as good, that can give us the upper hand. That being the choice specs. The choice specs. This gives us a 50% boost to our special attacks, at the cost of only being able to use the first move we select. But since we're up against ghost Pokemon, there likely isn't really any other move we would want to use, and we still have the berries if nothing else. So with these components, let's challenge the gym that I was dreading the most, even before starting this run. Thankfully all the trainers are optional, onto Fantina. Fantina leads with Drifblim, and I send out Zubat, wearing his shades. This is already a rough start, as Drifblim has a base health stat 3 times that of our Ditto. Zubat wins the speed tie to use Hex, and... okay. I was expecting to see a lot of damage, but that was, I mean, I'll take it. Us winning the speed tie was huge, as now Gengar comes out, and for some reason, does not have a single special ghost move. It does outspeed to use Shadow Claw, still doing a lot, but not enough to kill. And a Specs boosted Hex rolls through Gengar. Finally it's Mismagius, and I have to switch. But Mismagius for some reason only has Phantom Force, another physical move on the special attacker. What were they thinking when they made this battle? Now that we speed tie, Phantom Force is one of those moves that we could get amazing luck with, being able to dodge and hit at just the right times, or one that can screw us over. Turn 1, it works out for us as we win the speed tie, being able to dodge the incoming one from Mismagius. And turn 2, Mismagius moves first. That was the best these last 3 turns could have gone. Phantom Force leaves Mismagius just out of heal range. And then Baju outspeeds to hit Dazzling Gleam, which finishes Mismagius off. How was this one of the easiest battles in the run so far? This was always the one I was dreading the most coming into this game, and we just coasted through it. Baju has genuinely been the most terrifying thing throughout this entire challenge so far. Straight into Canalave, Scarf seems a bit upset that we haven't broken a sweat so far without it. First up Staravia, and we've been through this. 2 plugs while we get hit with an Endeavor deals with Staravia. Then next up is Heracross, who we have a 4 times super effective move against. But apparently we don't outspeed. Goodbye Zubat. And Heracross has Aerial Ace. This is exactly when we would have needed a choice scarf. But Baju has yet to let me down. It outspeeds, one-shotting. This could have gone really bad. I don't see Ponyta being able to one-shot, so I stay in as it uses a Tail Whip, getting hit with the Brick Break, not getting the kill. Alright, I'm pushing my luck. But Ponyta just goes for an Agility. Another Brick Break finishes it off. Weasel goes down to a single Brick Break. What's Grottle gonna do? I lost Zubat to my own hubris, but the fact that Zubat's all we lost is insanely lucky, as had Heracross won 5 speed ties in a row, that would have been it. And that's not something we're a stranger to either. I literally lost 5 speed ties to Bryson in my black run. Onto the gym. There are a few annoying trainers, but none that held a candle to Shellos or Baju. The worst we faced was a Steelix that we had a curse off against, with the only decent attacking move being Ice Fang. But then we get to Byron. Byron leads with Bronzor, and the only attacking move it has is Flash Cannon. Let's see how much it does. Confuse Ray and Sandstorm make this go on longer than it needs to, but eventually Bronzor loses all of its power points for Flash Cannon. And then Byron switches it out. Steelix's Thunderfang paralyzes Bidoof as Bidoof gets off a Confuse Ray, and then I switch into my own Steelix. Earthquake does over half, with Steelix doing the same, but with help from a Citrus Berry, we aren't required to win the speed tie. Cherubi hangs on, and a second Earthquake takes Steelix down. Now the reason why we didn't want Bronzor to switch is that it comes right back out, and Thunderfang doesn't get the kill. Bronzor gets healed with a full restore. Taking Bronzor down isn't a big deal, it's out of attacking PP after all, just time consuming. And out comes Bastiodon. I would have liked to use Steelix's Earthquake, but here we are. What can I say, this thing sucks. It eventually goes down to a Flash Cannon. Possibly the most boring gym I've had so far. Never any risk, just clicking buttons. Waiting for this to end. Why am I doing this? Poor Rowan's dementia got the better of him. His mind takes him back to his glory days, insisting that we're the ones that need to deal with this national crisis. Rowan, we're 14. Well, we did steal a Pokemon from him, so anything that keeps his mind off that. Saturn couldn't win the Heart Home City badge to use Surf, so you used Explosion instead, which happened to evaporate the water. Should remember that life hack for next time. He leads with Bronzor, and all you need to know is that it has payback. Onto Toxicroak. Toxicroak starts off with a super effective Thief, and I stay in to use a Stab 4 times effective extrasensory that doesn't even do half. I thought Bronzor was a bit better than this. I get a safe switch into my own Bronzor, who's not holding a Citrus Berry, and he outspeeds to use Revenge. Twice. This was not the time to win Speed Ties. Into Piplup, and we win another Revenge Speed Tie. Why is this happening now? Oh wow, the Quick Claw activated, giving us yet another Speedy Revenge. At least that time we got the kill. Kadabra goes down to a couple of Psychics. I'm starting to notice that whenever Bronzor's involved, my battles last a lot longer. Like, remember when I was complaining about battles taking 10 minutes? That's been the norm as of recently, and we aren't anywhere near being done with Team Galactic. Rowan's out here living his best life, playing superhero, but unfortunately that's all he can do, so we have to do his dirty work. Well, I've already spoken about all the Pokemon involved, so on to Mars. We trade a few bites, and then Golbat uses a U-turn into Purugly. Purugly spends the first few turns growling at us, while I try to use Poison Fangs with no poisons. Purugly switches up to Slashes, but we manage to stay out of crit ranges as Ponyta gets off a poison on the last turn it can stay in. I switch out to Bidoof, and his first slash crits, with poison finishing Purugly off. Golbat goes down to a couple of slashes. Bidoof lives up to all the legends surrounding him. Ron, why is this our problem? No! Alright, it has Poison Sting. On to Candace. Don't say it. First up, it's Snova. Snova starts off with a Mist, as Ponyta hits Avalanche. But then Ponyta decides that now's the time to start outspeeding opponents, missing the kill. Snova gets to use the boosted Avalanche. Citrus Berry lets her stay in, but then Candace switches out. I still don't know what triggers this. Like, she hasn't used any healing items yet. I switch out as Sneasel sets up Hone Claws. I stay in, then Sneasel sets up another. Metal Claw just misses the kill. Candace heals up, and Metal Claw brings Sneasel low, but regardless, we need to outspeed as a single Metal Claw could one-shot any of my Pokemon. And of course I had nothing to worry about. I'm using Bidoof. Next is Medicham, and this thing is terrifying without any setup. At least I know a Brick Break's coming, so it's a safe switch. Medicham outspeeds with an Ice Punch, keeping Cherubi alive, triggering Citrus Berry. Cherubi sets up a Bulk Up. Cherubi outspeeds to use Ice Punch, but it's still not enough. The defense boost was enough to keep her alive. But now I need to outspeed as switching out is dangerous. Which Cherubi doesn't. Goodbye Cherubi. Back into Bidoof, and he outspeeds to use a Bulk Up, reducing the damage from the incoming Ice Punch. Medicham outspeeds the next turn, but it's already over. Ice Punch finishes Medicham off. Snova comes crawling back, but what can it do to stop a +1 pure power boosted super effective Brick Break? Next is the adult Snova, and Ditto. After what happened with Sneasel, Wondead's probably one of the better outcomes. Alongside Medicham, this is one of the few gym battles that could have gone south. But we still have yet to face any real difficulty. Was I overhyping this? It's been easier than both games where we've had access to a Choice Scarf. Well, I obviously already know what's up ahead, so if it's suffering you want to see, just hold out a bit longer. But for now, we need to deal with a different kind of suffering as we infiltrate Team Galactic's super secret headquarters, masked by massive spikes protruding out the sides. Like, surely supervillains wouldn't have such an obvious tell, right? Reverse psychology. I like it. Cyrus, I was complimenting you and you had to make an absolute mockery of yourself. It's like I couldn't care less. Unless this is a part of your reverse psychology. We can just spam wing attacks against Murkrow while Citrus Berry keeps us out of range. Doesn't matter as Murkrow uses Taunt anyway. I switch out on Sneasel as it sets up a Hone Claws. I've seen this somewhere. I stay in, and Metal Claw does way less than what I did against Candace. And Sneasel goes for an Icy Wind. It just used Hone Claws. Alright, speed control. I guess some stuff doesn't change with the AI. Metal Claw activates both of our Citrus Berries. Switching out feels risky, so I stay in. And Sneasel outspeeds using Metal Claw, which Machop survives. Its own Metal Claw finishes Sneasel off. Finally it's Golbat, and while Ice would have been good against flying, Our best move is Icy Wind, so out into Baju, and we just spam air cutters until we win. If only this was the end. Up Mount Coronet we go. Thankfully we can avoid all the grunts while scaling the mountain right until we get to the very last set of stairs. First grunts up, what do we have in store? Oh. "12 minutes later, we can fight the next grunt. Oh, thank God it has payback. Maybe this game was never supposed to be difficult. The true challenge was staying the same person coming out of this game that I was going in. At least I was able to do some damage with Golbat first, but what are these movesets? At least we get some help from our old friend Choice Scarf for our next battle. I'm sure he'll not hold me back whatsoever. I underestimated Team Galactic. They don't win by using strong Pokemon, but rather crushing their opponent's spirit. And you know what? It worked. I was being sarcastic about Scarf, but Munchlax is actually using Bite against our arch nemesis. Much better damage output than Payback. That was boosted as well. Eventually, one Bronzor goes down, but unfortunately it's the one on Scarf's side. So even when I switch, we still have to use Bronzors ourselves. But Munchlax's Body Slam seems to be doing pretty good. I really wish he would focus that attention towards Bronzor instead, but him doing any damage at all is good enough for me. And we're already on Purugly, and this gives Munchlax the incentive to attack Bronzor. But it's Skuntank that comes out. As I switch out to my ace, Purugly uses Body Slam, which crits, taking Munchlax down. Actually an invaluable teammate that I was sad to see go. Next up is Staraptor. This is actually perfect for us, as now we can focus on one side. Okay, it got paralyzed, that's fine. Huh? Why not use close combat on the obvious target in front of you? Oh, but Quick Claw activates. Why do I even pretend to have hope? And then Purugly digs into the earth. Staraptor goes down to a big ol' burp. This could have been over so much sooner. And now we have to deal with Purugly doing super effective damage to us with Dig. At least my flamethrower burns. Dig does more than I expected, but at least Heracross can pick up where Staraptor failed. Barry, look in front of you! At least Skuntank goes down. Next into Golbat and Heracross, there is literally one move you can use here. Aerial Ace does come out, but he survives. Fuck you, Barry. Aim for Purugly. What's even the point? Even Weasel's boosted brine doesn't kill. At least Purugly goes for a dig. And Golbat recovers all the damage Weasel did with Giga Drain. We can switch out to transform into Golbat to negate the dig. But this battle could have been done ages ago. Weasel's brine manages to pick up a kill this time. Purugly hasn't even eaten its citrus berry yet. And then Purugly uses a dig into Ponyta using agility. You're gonna miss next turn, you idiot. What are you doing? At least Sludge Bomb hits and poisons. Oh, of course, you would wait until the last turn to attack. Wow, Barry, thanks for all of your hard work. How many times have I used the phrase "at least" in this run? Barry had such a strong lead with Munchlax. What happened? Barry's done more emotional and mental damage to me than Team Galactic could ever hope to accomplish. What if that was the plan the entire time? You know, we never actually saw the conversation between Barry and Jupiter at Lake Acuity before we got there. Oh, shut the fuck up, Cyrus. Hornscrow goes down to a barrage of air cutters into a Steel Wing as it uses Defog for some reason. Gyarados goes down to a few crunches. Some more crunches. Gyarados goes down to a crunch. Gyarados goes down to a waterfall. We trade a few air cutters with Crobat until it U-turns into Weavile. Weavile has no ice move, so it goes down to a few cross poisons. Crobat's back and it goes down to Air Cutter. Eventually. And that puts an end to this awful segment. Oh, the legendary. Palkia is scary as it's a dragon type with a base HP twice that of our Ditto. Now we just throw a Master Ball. No rules against catching legendaries. Rowan, it's your bedtime. Go home. Oh, you've taken at least 5 years from my lifespan. Okay, let's take a little breather. We're in the home stretch now, only one gym left, and more importantly, we've made it through all of the annoying Pokemon we need to face for the rest of this run. As long as we don't run into any optionals. You thought I was going to cut to an optional battle, didn't you? I am hyper-focused at this point. Well, some of these forced gym trainer battles can be annoying, but we've gone through far worse during our journey. Let's just fight Volkner. First up is Raichu, and while its moves aren't amazing, we can just use Surf. And the first one crits, doing over half. I mean, that's well and good, but the next one will just put right into heal range. Unless it also crits. That was a 1 in 576 chance. Not that it really mattered as we switch out on Ambipom's fake out anyway. And it actually hits hard, but ours does more. Next I actually use a Thunderbolt. I promise there is a reason. As Volkner does the same. I assume for the same reason as me. Ambipom's in heal range, giving us a free turn to use double hit. And with all the setup done, we can outspeed to use a stab 140 base power last resort to finish Ambipom off. Octillery comes out, but it's already over. Oh. But then it throws using focus energy. Nothing a heal can do now. 2 Thunderbolts take it down. All part of the plan. Finally, Luxray comes out and intimidates Baju. I stand to use last resort. And it doesn't even do half. Alright, maybe this wasn't working quite the way I planned. But Baju survives the Iron Tail. Next into Bidoof, and as we know with Intimidate mons, we can always have a higher attacking stat by copying theirs, and then lowering theirs with their own ability. And we flex our abs as we outcrunch Luxray. And through all the pain and suffering, mostly to my psyche, we have gotten every badge in Sinnoh, only having lost 6 Ditto in the process. But remember, I said something about more suffering yet to come. Well, as I'm sure you've guessed, it wasn't the Team Galactic arc I was talking about, but the Pokémon League. Let's not sugarcoat it. While I hope you enjoyed seeing my mental well-being deteriorate every time we saw Bronzor, this run has been a bit of a disappointment so far. Despite not having access to the one item that shifted the tides in our favor during my previous runs, this game has not even been slightly comparable to my Shield or Black run in terms of difficulty. And those two are some of the most difficult hardcore Nuzlocks I've ever played. And so far, the only difficulty I've faced was finding the motivation to continue this run. But from the start, I knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel. Something that would get the gears of my brain turning. And of course, something that would provide me with some of that sweet content. In stark contrast to the run so far, this Elite Four will be the hardest challenge we will face. Not only amongst my Ditto runs, but all of the runs I've done on my channel so far. But why is that? Unlike Black, all Elite Four members have 5 Pokemon. All Pokemon in this league are EV trained, have max IVs in most stats, and have competitive movesets. We're no longer fighting Bajus with Absorb. The battles would be at a much faster pace, sure, but now we're at risk every turn of something going wrong. If we're in a 2-hit KO range, then switching is basically impossible without having to rely on multiple speed ties. And if a single Pokemon is able to one-shot us, and we need to win a speed tie, that could just be an instant loss. Sometimes sacking a Ditto may actually have to be the play, and we have to do this 5 times. Which would have been fine if this was any other section of this game, but the worst difference of them all, unlike both Shield and Black, at no point during the league can we replenish our Ditto, meaning once we pick our 6 Brave Blobs, they're with us until the very end. I skimmed over the rival battle, but at this stage he's the least of our concerns, though we do lose 2 Ditto. All my Ditto have worked very hard up until this point, some of which have been with me since the beginning, but it's time I bring the ones I cherry-picked for this very moment. All with HP IVs ranging from 27 to 31. I juice them up with HP ups, and then I make them go on an insane diet until they reach the level cap, which I usually set as the average of all the aces, but decided that 66 was perfectly fair for this challenge. And of course I bring Bidoof, as praying to a god might be the only way through this. We kick off the league with Aaron, who is thankfully one of the easiest ones to deal with. Aaron leads with Dustox and I send out Bidoof. What do we have to work with against the first Pokemon of the Elite Four? Oh. And then Dustox outspeeds to set up a light screen. No. And then it just recovers up the few pixels of damage Bidoof did with Black Sludge. Alright, I'll be honest, I already knew this coming in. The first Pokemon of the Elite Four, true to the rest of my run, we are gonna PP stall. No fancy tactics, we set up a light screen when it's down and use Moonlights to recover our health when it's low. We switch out every now and then to regain PP until eventually Dustox runs out of bug buzzers. Now we just need to wait until it uses up all of his Moonlights. What? Aaron switches out into Beautifly. Now this was actually unexpected. I guess the AI has done this in the past, but I'm still not used to them switching out. Thankfully I had just set up a light screen beforehand, but unlike Dustox, Beautifly has attacking moves. I switch out to Jirachi as Beautifly sets up a quiver dance. I think we might have actually just won. Looking back, I should have switched out to copy his boost, but I stay in to use my own quiver dance as Beautifly uses Psychic. We've set up 3 quiver dances, always just being out of range, but Beautifly still hasn't taken the bait. That is until the next turn. We set up a final quiver dance as Beautifly does the same, and is that enough to pick up the kill? It isn't. And even Beautifly goes for a Psychic, which doesn't get the kill. Aaron heals up, but will always outspeed to 2 shots, so Beautifly goes down to a final Shadow Ball. Next up is Heracross, and of course we outspeed one-shotting with Psychic. Now Vespiquen was the one I was worried about as it's pretty bulky. Can a +5 Psychic one-shot? It can. Dustox comes crawling back, but now the field's reversed. A +5 super effective Psychic brings down Dustox. And the Ace Drapion's out. Jirachi outspeeds to hit a stab, +5 Bug Buzz, winning us the first battle of the Elite Four. I always knew Beautifly was my win condition, but for it to go down so smoothly was just something else. I wasn't expecting the Dustox switch, but it definitely worked out in my favor as we got through with no losses. But next up is Bertha, and she uses a lot of defensive ground types. And if you've seen my previous videos, bulky Pokemon are the worst for us to deal with. Bertha starts with Quagsire, and I once again send out Bidoof. And while looking at his moves, there's only one thing to do: Toxic Stalling. And it seems Bertha had the same thing in mind. Bidoof, of course, comes prepared. Now Quagsire does have 2 attacking moves, but it also has Water Absorb, so Surf is off the table, leaving only Earthquake. And while it is the better move, it's not going to do more than half, and because of that, Quagsire can just recover away all of our hard work, not to mention leftovers. I did actually let Bidoof get poisoned again, but Toxic Stalling isn't that difficult based on its moveset, and this is the first step. I did try to get off a few Earthquakes to bait the early heals, but Quagsire's recover didn't let that happen. On a turn when I knew Quagsire was going for recover, I switched into Buizel, and now I can just switch back into Bidoof as Quagsire goes for another Toxic. Bidoof's already poisoned, so a turn's been wasted. With Quagsire having recover, this goes on for a while. Eventually I do get greedy, trying to use an Earthquake hoping that poison would finish Quagsire off. But nope, Quagsire recovers and poison brings it right into heal range. The exact thing I didn't want happening. And we do this all over again. The core strategy hasn't changed, but whenever our health gets low, we use recover. On the last turn, I do stay in, Weasel taking Quagsire's Toxic, but we were prepared from the start. Quagsire finally succumbs to poison damage, and all of our Pokemon are still at full health. We're actually on the second Pokemon now, Sudowoodo. And while it does have low special defense, and doesn't have Sturdy, I'm not sure if Surf kills. I guess it does if it crits. It didn't have Wood Hammer, so there was nothing to worry about. Whiscash is out, and Weasel is still as good as new. I stay in, but Whiscash outspeeds to use Ice Beam. Our Earthquake does about the same. Stay in one more turn, and Ice Beam freezes. Then Weasel thaws out, using Earthquake. Whiscash outspeeds, so we need to switch. But I'm also not sure if Bertha might heal. It's too early to start risking Ditto, so I switch out to Onix, and Ice Beam doesn't really do much. But outspeeding this turn would be big, which we don't as Whiscash uses his last turn to use Bulldoze, lowering our speed. We didn't want to see that speed drop because for some reason, Bertha's Golem has almost full investment in speed. We might have been able to outspeed, but we certainly don't now. So I switch out to Jirachi. An Earthquake does far too much damage, and this Golem has Sturdy, so regardless of whether we win the speed tie, we're gonna have to sack a Ditto. But Jirachi does indeed win the speed tie and honorably goes down to an Earthquake. I send out Pachirisu, and Golem can't kill thanks to Sturdy, so we're safe to take Golem down. But the speed tie was the cherry on top. We're on to Bertha's final Pokemon, Hippowdon, but we're not in the clear yet. This is Bertha's bulkiest Pokemon, and our team's in rough shape. At least Pachirisu has no way of fainting thanks to Sturdy, so we can stay in to use an Earthquake. But we need to switch. So into our last healthy Pokemon, Magikarp. And Earthquake does half. But worse yet, not quite enough to activate my berry. Nothing else to do but stay in, and Hippowdon outspeeds using Earthquake, leaving Magikarp on just 1 HP. That wasn't even an affection bonus, but our own Earthquake doesn't quite get the kill. I was desperate enough to avoid a speed tie and make a huge mistake switching out to Onix, as Earthquake brings it low, so we need to win the speed tie anyway. For some reason, I don't learn and switch out to Bidoof, who takes an Earthquake, leaving me in the same predicament as before. But in all of my self-doubt, I foolishly forgot that it is indeed Bidoof on the field. I stay in. And Bidoof outspeeds to hit Earthquake, winning us our second Elite Four match. We're through 2 battles now, and we've only lost 1 Ditto. That's actually amazing. During my theory crafting, I was actually underselling myself. Though let's not get ahead of ourselves. Still 3 battles to go, and unfortunately, because of 2 Pokemon in particular, there's a lot of luck involved in our next battle. Flint leads with Rapidash and Bidoof's back out. Rapidash can be really annoying as it has Hypnosis, but it opts to use Speed Control instead with Flame Charge. Bidoof uses Poison Jab. That's really all we can do the next turn as well, but despite being in heal range, Rapidash goes for Hypnosis, which hits, Bidoof missing a turn. Rapidash's Poison Jab even crits the next turn, Citrus Berry keeping us out of range of another. And we already know what Bidoof's capable of. It wakes up turn 1, finishing Rapidash off with a Poison Jab. Next up is Lopunny, and it has High Jump Kick, which means switching's off the table. Sorry, Bidoof. I stay in. And Bidoof hits Hypnosis. What did I even have to be worried about? Switching's still risky, so I stay into hit a Poison Jab, which does nothing. And Lopunny has Leftovers. Why? I figure switching is the most productive thing to do, so into Buizel as Lopunny wakes up, hitting High Jump Kick. Not doing as much as I was expecting. Citrus Berry keeps us out of range of a regular one. Buizel moves first, High Jump Kick doing about half, and Lopunny's one brings Buizel into red. Though this means I can get a safe switch into Pachirisu as Lopunny goes for a quick attack. And Pachirisu manages to win the speed tie, finishing Lopunny off with a High Jump Kick. There's 1 Pokemon dependent on luck down. Steelix comes out and this thing is stacked. It has Sheer Force, is holding a Life Orb, and has moves that all have a secondary effect, meaning all of its attacks do about 70% extra damage. It even has a maxed out attack stat. There's no point risking High Jump Kicks with Lopunny's puny attacking stat, so I switch out to Onix, as it gets hit with Iron Tail. That's how much a not very effective attack did against a Pokemon with massive defense. Steelix moves first using a Fire Fang that does just enough damage to activate the Citrus Berry. We move first next, Fire Fang doing about a third as Steelix does the same. I'm outside of range of another, but I'm not sure if the next one will kill. So I make the stupidest play I could have, and as Steelix misses Fire Fang, I use Crunch, putting Steelix right into heal range. I honestly could not tell you what I was thinking. Maybe I was worried about a 5% miss chance? It has screwed me over before. Flint heals, and Onix can get off 2 free Fire Fangs as Steelix misses another Fire Fang. That was a 1 in 400 chance. When I said this battle was dependent on luck, this isn't what I meant, but I'll take it. And Onix even outspeeds the next turn, finishing Steelix off with Fire Fang. Have I been sleeping on Onix all this time? I face no repercussions for my stupid mistake. Drifblim's up, and we absolutely do not want to switch out against this thing, as for some reason it has no attacking moves whatsoever. But it gets started with its evasion hacks as Onix misses Crunch. The next turn getting off a Will-O-Wisp, burning Onix. Crunch hits, doing just under half. But the next turn, Drifblim Baton passes into Infernape, giving it its evasion boosts. This is terrifying for multiple reasons. For one, Infernape has close combat which could two-shot any of my Pokemon. And if it does get one off, we would be copying its defense drops as well. And now it has a +2 evasion boost. This is where it all comes down to luck. But the thing is, when we switch, we too can copy its evasion boost. And Magikarp comes out, dodging the first close combat, and then dodges the second close combat, and then hits its own, putting Infernape into the red. What is this insane luck I've been having? Was all the suffering building up to this very moment? Now with the defense drop, the next close combat could kill, so switch out to Pachirisu, and close combat hits, but Citrus Berry pulls Pachirisu out of range of Mach Punch. And the next turn, Pachirisu manages to push through the evasion boost to hit Mach Punch, putting an end to Infernape. Drifblim comes back out and we can finish it off with a Thunder Punch. We got through a battle dependent on luck with no losses. I'm genuinely shocked. I've never had this sort of luck during a Ditto run before, but does that mean that's all downhill from here? Next up, Lucian, an Elite Four member who uses Psychic types, which we have a bad history with. Lucian sends out Mr. Mime, and why would I start with anyone else but Bidoof? But unfortunately, no cool strategies here. We set up a light screen and start a barrage of dazzling gleams. Mr. Mime holds a light clay which extends the duration of screens, whereas we do not, so he gets a few extra hits here and there. But we can switch to maintain HP. This takes ages, especially with Lucian getting to use healing items, but eventually Buizel can finish Mr. Mime off with a final dazzling gleam. Next up is Girafarig, and I should have switched out earlier as I only have one dazzling gleam left. Girafarig sets up a trick room. A wasted move as I switch out the next turn into a Bidoof anyway, into a Thunderbolt. Girafarig sets up a light screen, my own one's doing less, and our screen fades. This is basically all that happens for the next 5 minutes, during which Girafarig paralyzes both Bidoof and Onyx, while we get a paralysis on the last turn Girafarig's alive. Next up is Medicham, and this is the one I was terrified of. It has Zen Headbutt, coming off max attack, and Pure Power, which doubles the power of its attacking moves. Also, it's holding a Muscle Band, which gives it a 10% boost, cause why not? Basically, it will one-shot any of my Pokemon. It's probably going for a high jump kick, so I switched into Buizel, who's already taken a bit of damage, not expecting it to kill. I was very dumb. Into Pachirisu, and it wins the speed tie, one-shotting Medicham. Time for Alakazam, and it has no investment in special attack for some reason. I'm still at full health, so I figure why not go for a high jump kick? That's why. Actually, I'm more surprised by the fact that I moved before Alakazam as a Medicham. Alakazam uses Nasty Plot, so how about we copy its hard work? I switch out to Magikarp as Psychic does just over half. Citrus Berry pulls it out of range of another, but this means that we'll need to win the speed tie. Doesn't matter as Alakazam goes for a future sight anyway. Psychic does over half, and then Magikarp outspeeds the next turn to finish Alakazam off with another Psychic. Finally, it's the Ace Bronzong. I haven't forgotten what his kin has put me through. I switch out to Onyx, first taking a Gyro Ball and then the Future Sight. Pathetic. And since Onyx is paralyzed, it will always move second to use a boosted payback. Unless it gets paralyzed. We can survive one more non-crit one, and we do. Payback does over half. Citrus Berry does heal Bronzong up, but it'll go down to just one more boosted payback. I switch out to Pachirisu, taking a payback. And no, Pachirisu, now is not the time to outspeed. A boosted payback finishes Pachirisu off. I send out Magikarp, and regardless if we move first or second, it doesn't matter. A boosted payback wins us the final Elite Four battle. Now first the good. We've made it through the entire Elite Four. Against all the odds, without even the Choice Scarf, we have survived the gauntlet against 4 of the game's toughest trainers. Now the bad. There's still one trainer left, and she's considered by many to be the toughest champion across the entire series. And with the introduction of this game, she now boasts a fully EV trained team, all holding competitive items with competitive movesets. And that's not the worst of it. We have to face the strongest champion with 3 Ditto. But we've come too far to let something like a crippling disadvantage scare us. And I wouldn't be starting this battle without a plan. Let's get this over with. Cynthia leads with Spiritomb and I lead with Onyx. Of course, Cynthia had to start with the bane of our existence, a bulky Pokemon with a low damage output. Unfortunately, we can't really do much but brute force our way through this one, and then Spiritomb flinches Onyx turn 1. Spiritomb wins another speed tie, this time using Shadow Ball instead, as Onyx hits it with Dark Pulse. Spiritomb wins yet another speed tie, leaving us low, and Onyx's Dark Pulse activates Spiritomb's Citrus Berry, taking it out of heal range. But now we're forced to switch as winning speed ties is clearly off the table. Magikarp takes a Dark Pulse on the switch in. Why did I think we were even going to win one speed tie? Spiritomb goes down to a final Dark Pulse. Next up is Roserade, so I switch into my still healthy Bidoof and take the Dazzling Gleam. We've lost 5 coin flips in a row. On the champion, we both trade Sludge Bombs. Alright, that's fine. Those last few speed ties sucked, but they didn't cause any lasting damage. However, we absolutely need to win this next one. We're not worthy of Bidoof. True to his nature, Bidoof outspeeds when it matters most. Sludge Bomb puts Roserade down, and Cynthia sends out Milotic. Huh. I mean, I know it has Ice Beam, but it's a water type. I was expecting Lucario or even Garchomp to be honest. But no matter. While the last 2 Pokemon were defeated through brute force, this is where my mastermind plan begins. You see, Milotic has 2 attacking moves, Scald, and Ice Beam, both of which are resisted by water types, which we'll be transforming into as we send out Onix. Not only that, but Milotic has a helpful little move that will put us back in the running. Recover. And while I'm sure you don't need me to tell you what's about to happen, we are going to end this league the way we started, holding true to the nature of the rest of the game, all building up to this very moment. We are going to PP stall the shit out of Milotic. And not only that, we are going to recover back our entire team's health. But even this requires some strategy. Scald has a 30% chance to burn. We don't really want our entire team to be burned, as that would screw with our endgame strat. However, after 15 turns of Scalds, a burn is more or less guaranteed, and Onix will be the brave Ditto to bear this burden. As you can see, there is absolutely nothing Milotic can do, and any damage it does to us, we can just recover. Not only that, but it's burned by its Flame Orb, which means it's taking damage every turn. And on the turn we know it's going to use Recover, we can just switch out and then back into Onix, minimalizing the chances of our other Pokemon getting burned. This will recover Onix's PP to continue the Recover stalling. But here's the thing, aside from Recover, all of Milotic's attacks are damaging moves, including Mirror Coat, which could do a lot of damage to it, and we absolutely do not want her to die. The only way she's leaving this planet is by our own hands. This may seem cruel, but do you want me to fight that budgie again? Eventually, Milotic does run out of Scalds, which we know as it opts to use Mirror Coats and Ice Beams, when otherwise the AI would have used Scalds for the higher damage output. I mean, I was keeping count. And what better opportunity could I ask for to recover all of my Pokemon back up to full, with no risk of being burned at all? All that progress wasted, Cynthia. You really thought winning those coin flips mattered? With everyone healthy again, we bring out our sturdy Onix and resume the PP stalling. But during all of my excitement, something dangerous was approaching, something I missed. Milotic ran out of recovers, and seems dangerously close to being fried by its own burn. And then Cynthia washes all my fears away as she uses a full restore on Milotic, the Flame Orb once again burning her. Cynthia's a lot more cruel than I am. And then Cynthia does something I wasn't expecting. She switches out. I really should have known better by now. Out comes Lucario, and what can we even do against Lucario? Well, thankfully, Cynthia switched on the turn I used Recover, so Onix at least is at full health. And better yet, Milotic left behind the perfect tool for us to use against this Pokemon. Lucario outspeeds to use an Aura Sphere, doing just under half, as we can hit back with a Mirror Coat, putting Lucario into red. A heal's coming, so I take this turn to recover Onix's HP back. Cynthia doesn't learn her lesson, and another Aura Sphere into Mirror Coat brings Lucario low. All we don't want to see is a crit. And Lucario doesn't get it. Scald melts Lucario. That crit really didn't matter. Gastrodon's out, and it's another Pokemon that can't do anything to Milotic. As we recover, Gastrodon resorts to using Sludge Bomb, doing paltry damage. Another recover as Gastrodon switches up its tactics to speed control. We take this as an opportunity to use a few Ice Beams, as it takes Gastrodon a comical amount of Rock Tombs before it can outspeed, and then continue using Ice Beams when we see how much Earthquake does. Eventually, Onix gets put into what I thought was crit range, so I switch into Magikarp as it uses Earthquake. And yeah, we've won this one-on-one. Cynthia does try to attempt to get a sneaky little poison in, but she used up her luck far too early. Gastrodon goes down to an Earthquake. That crit absolutely did not matter. Milotic comes back out, and I don't know how, but I didn't realize until this very moment how massive that switch out earlier was for me. We can basically have a fresh Milotic ready for Cynthia's next Pokemon, and I don't even need to use my original plan involving sacking get a Haban Berry. Well, that was my thought process until I realized how close Milotic was to death. Oh well, we'll at least have one turn to recover back some HP. And then Cynthia uses a full restore on a Pokemon that has no moves left. She truly hates Milotic, doesn't she? Or was she doing this to intimidate me? I stall out these last few turns with Mirror Coats as all Milotic can do is struggle. Then on the last turn she has left on this plane, Onix recovers back its HP. Cynthia finally allows Milotic some rest. Now you see, there was a reason why I specifically wanted Onix out during this moment. Milotic has the ability Marvel Scale, which increases defense if the Pokemon is statist. And guess which attacking moves the next Pokemon uses? Cynthia finally sends out her ace, Garchomp. It outspeeds to use Earthquake. And oh no, that looks so close. Ice Beam gets weakened by Garchomp's Yachi Berry. However, the next one looks like it will do the job. But was Earthquake a roll? Garchomp uses Earthquake. And Onix survives on 14 HP. A final Ice Beam puts an end to Garchomp. And the Nuzlocke. My heart was actually pounding so hard during that battle. We have beaten who many consider to be the hardest champion with 3 Ditto. Not only that, but all 3 Ditto are still alive. If there's one challenge where I deserve your likes and subscribes, sorry, had to do it. There was no part of me that went into this league thinking I would actually beat it, let alone champion Cynthia with 3. That was by far the hardest league so far. Insanely so compared to the rest of the game. Many of the Elite Four battles had me needing to think up new strategies halfway through the battle, with Cynthia being the quintessential example of that. But that's exactly what I love about these challenges. The first 80% of the game honestly had me completely drained. I just didn't really care for most of it, but I pushed through, knowing that the league would have me scrambling for the damage calculator, and it did not disappoint. I'm loving these Ditto challenges, and I really want to see more people try them, but please don't do it on this game. I think Sword and Shield is a much better game to attempt these challenges on. If you don't have a Switch 2.0 like myself, you could just transfer yourself 6 Ditto through trading or Pokémon Home, and then keep track of your encounter and death count to determine how many Ditto you have access to on your team. You won't get the random HP IVs, but I don't really think that will detract from the overall experience. Or you could try on a 3DS game, as it's much easier to find a 6DS, though you'll have to do your own research on that front. But I think I might take a break from Ditto for now. Thanks for watching. I'm just a small channel, but I've been seeing so much support in the comments, it's surreal. You usually don't expect that sort of stuff from the internet, but seriously, thank you all so much, and I'm really glad that there are people out there actually enjoying my content. There are still plenty of new weird challenges I have lined up, and many challenges I've already done but want to do in other games. All I need to do is find time, so please look forward to those in the future.